I want to give a huge shout out to CardNexus, one of our main sponsors for the Runes and Rift Invitational. They help you track and organize your Riftbound collection like a pro. These guys are real big TCG fans. They've been in the scene for over 20 years. CardNexus helps you collect and manage your cards with features like smart bulk import, portfolio value, so you're able to keep track of what your value is on your cards over time. They have completion tracking and a whole lot of frequent updates as they listen very closely to community feedback. On top of that, guys, they tend to do a good amount of giveaways. Speaking of that, they are doing a Spiritforged, you guys heard that right, a Spiritforged booster box giveaway for every single person that signs up with the link. When you press !CardNexus, it's 100% free. They just want to promote more signups on their website. So if you want to be entered into the Spiritforged giveaway raffle, just go ahead and click !CardNexus. Big ol' love to them. Connect, trade, and collect. Down to the very final ones. J-Chan versus Darisu. Who's going to be taking it all the way? Darisu is 7 game wins and 1 loss. J-Chan is 5-0 since he only stuck around in the winners bracket. And right now it is the grand finals, but like I said before, I wrote it into the rules. There's no true benefit besides the extra rest you get from being in the winners final. Usually people do like a best of 5. It's just a best of 3 today, guys. This is it. Whoever wins this best of 3 series will be crowned our very first invitational champion.
Absolutely. So a lot on the line here. Interesting start. You see double Reaver's row and nothing played for J-Chan, just passing. It's gotta feel really bad not being able to play anything on 2 or any on 3, I guess. But right, and then we have
Oh, double treasure hoarder indeed, and double Reaver's Row. So a lot of little bit of similarities down the middle, but a whole lot of gold development for Darisu. Feeling a little bit ahead. I would imagine he was on the play, right?
yeah. So I thought I lost you there. I was like,
No, I was letting know. J-Chan was telling me exactly what I was saying. He says, is there any benefit to being on the winner's side? Unfortunately, it's just a little extra rest. You just get the extra rest from letting these players, you get the mental reset while the players in the lower bracket kind of hash things out, but it's still a best of 3 and it's still random turn orders like they would do in the finals of a regional event. So it doesn't feel the best, but it is what it is, and it is what we have for today.
There's always room for improvement. If you have feedback, I'm sure Plus is always looking for feedback from the communities.
Yeah, absolutely. And we got a question here in chat saying, why are the records so different? Wolfman, is because it's a double elimination tournament. J-Chan is coming from the winner's side. He only had to play 5 games. The other player, Darisu, had to battle it out going toe-to-toe against the lower bracket. So he had to play a whole lot more games. So yeah, that's why there's a discrepancy in the scores. But coming down, and Draven getting up his first point of the grand finals, 3-1. But that resource generation from Darisu might just be the most ideal start I've ever seen from a Draven.
Yeah, it's pretty absurd, right? When your opponent whiffs a 2-drop and then has to play a Draven. So essentially you get 2 whole turns to just move your treasure hunters around and say, hey, I'm gonna make a whole horde here. I'd make a dragon jealous, but yeah, and getting off to an early point lead as well. So 3-1, now 4-1. Exactly how you want to start this game if you are Darisu, very far ahead. I mean, even if you just look at the board state, right? Like there's a forerunner to not much else. Is like 2 units to 4, and the number of units does matter because each unit does represent a battlefield push. And the Draven deck is fairly good at stopping individual units. Not quite as much when they go wide, but when you have this point lead, you are very happy to say, hey, I'm going to save my units with the Reavers. And again, unfortunately, it is a double Reavers, which makes it very hard for these combats to stick.
So yeah, we'll see. It looks like a bit of an uphill climb for J-Chan down below. I mean, this is looking tough with the Reavers Treasure Hunter early on, getting so many golds. He looks like he's going to be having runes for days for the remaining of this battle. Goes for a stacked deck, looking for the top 3 cards, looking like he just wants to go ahead and try to hold things on Reavers Row. Or, I mean, I wouldn't feel too bad. You're definitely ahead on points, so you could simply retreat that Draven. Even retreat both of them and just kind of set things up at the base. Let your opponent get 2 points. See where you want to pick to conquer the following turn. Because right now, he's in the driver's seat. He feels comfortable. He's winning on almost every single aspect of the game. So no point to kind of overextend. Overstay your welcome. And he does decide to go with a 5 cost card. And it's going to be an Accelerated Kaiser to try to push this Draven off of the left Reaver's Row.
I'm kind of surprised he's choosing the push in here instead of sit on even points. But it does make sense, right? Like, you're so far ahead in the resource game and your opponent is on 2 units. So you are saying, hey, you're going to give me the extra gold, the extra draws, 2 draws, in fact, because it is the Kai's is going to trade, but you're going to get the extra point, and you're almost certainly going to force out the Reavers here and get the double draw off of the Kaisa, because you really don't want to lose your unit when you only have 2 units. Okay, wow, choosing to stick around. Maybe not.
Let's see if it ends up being fruitful for J-Chan. Can he hold it down? He's right now trying to defend with 6 total might versus the 5 total might, but there's 2 runes available. Is that going to be something like a spinning axe coming down? And instead it's going to be a rebuke, capitalizing on the fact that you don't have to waste any runes for that, which you usually never say when you're talking about playing out a rebuke. Very powerful position Draven's finding himself in. Almost want to say is as good as over, but this is the winners from the winner side. If there's anyone that's gonna try to maneuver his way and try to turn things around, as will be J-Chan. He already took down Darisu one more time. He already took Darisu one time in general. Can he do it again for the grand finals? It's looking a little different than that winners finals played out, but it could be a little bit too soon to speak.
Yeah, this is looking really rough. I mean, you can't say it's over till it's over. I wouldn't hate, like... It's so hard, though, with Reavers, right? Because you can't even just go slam a Thunder Song, shove up Forerunner, and say you're losing one whole battlefield because you're on a Reavers. So the Kaisa just gets saved, or in this case, it might even be the Treasure Hunter and just take a free gold. But you can't do that, so... and now choosing to pay 5 for a a Vex, okay. And passing. So going up to 6 here for Darisu.
Yeah, things are feeling rather up and up for Darisu, so has a good board state and position to kind of hold the left side Reaver's Row with a Kaiser Treasure Hunter and a hidden card. Could be a fight or flight, as we haven't seen any of those played out. And there's just a little Vex, so it tends to be a powerful unit, but you want to pair it up with something that can attack with a little bit more might. Vex himself just has 5 might, not the lowest, not the highest, somewhere right in the middle, but it's just not going to be enough to overtake. And, you know, speaking of Vex and when there's a hidden card, do you have to pay the extra 1, or it was already hidden?
If it is a spell, yes, you do have to pay the extra 1/1, but... Reminder that there are stuff like Tidebringer or Tide Turner, right?
Yeah.
It isn't always guaranteed that the hidden will be a spell, and Vex does only reduce spells, and this matters because equipment is not spells either. So the spinning axes, the long swords, those are not going to be discounted. Those are not going to be discounted either.
That does make sense, which is pretty powerful. Sometimes it comes into play, but in this matchup, half of the times it doesn't, as you said, because it doesn't affect those equipments. But now an overzealous fan trying to keep this Vex from even coming in at all. You have the hidden card, you have the fan, you have two treasure hunters. Perhaps at the very worst, if this is a fight or flight, you send one treasure hunter back with the Reaver's Row, the other one with the fight or flight, and then you get 2 gold tokens to your name. But I was thinking about this fan. Does he want to just stick around to just kind of sacrifice himself? Or I'm interested to see what Darisu has in mind, because he passed the turn with 10 runes available in it. You usually never see this, but it makes sense in the position that Darisu finds himself in, no?
Yeah. I mean, it does kind of guarantee that when the Vex gets shoved up, nothing is really going to be stopped by the Vex, right? Like, you're still going to have the energy and the power for literally whatever you would want. And you already had a board built, so there's no real need to build anything else. You can just say, hey, I'm satisfied with my board state. I'm going to threaten infinite interactions. And you have no board. You have essentially no board. And you not only have to establish your own board, because 2 units is just losing to a single fight or flight, right? Because 1 unit each battlefield. You have to establish your own board and push through my my wall on the battlefield. So, I mean, it's looking pretty doomed. You can't count him out. I mean, G-Chan has showed that he is a strong player, but it's looking rough.
Tries to go with a bit of a hold the right hand Reaver's Row, but you are behind on point tempo, as we saw previously. That's 7 points going up for Darisu. You have 12 runes available, plenty cards to play with, and a Draven and a Kaiser to push things forward. You just have to get over a max of maybe, what is that, 13 total might if Draven comes online. But if it comes online, things are gonna have to be played out right here, right now. The Bren here Thunder Song, we saw such an impact in that lower bracket finals coming into effect one more time. Does J-Chan have anything? And you know, NA, that's a main board Thunder Song. I thought when they played it the other matchup, it was a sideboard Thunder Song, but this is impressive that Draven decided to main board this for today's event.
Yeah, I don't remember if we saw one in the main board, but I mean, the card has been pretty high impact. It and Falling Star have been the MVPs of today for me in the Draven matchups, so we'll see if it does close out the game here. I mean, the Spinning Axe Darius is going to be pretty thick. That being said, 6 runes is a lot. I mean, Fight or Flight, Rebukes, pretty much any of these are going to end the game on the spot. So let's see what he has.
Yeah, deciding that the only cards able to play out at reaction speed will be the Spinning Axe, bringing that Darius up to a total of 8. So, another Spinning Axe added onto the Darius. So it looks like there's a clear target for the Reaver's Row. Not thinking about so much defending. Oh, and goes on to the Vex instead. Fight or Flight, getting both units put back.
Gosh.
And that is it. GG's Darisu in a rapid fashion, closing out game 1, going into game 2, and even generate more this game number 2. So we'll see how things play out. This is game number 2 of our grand finals. J-Chan will be on the play. Finally finds that 2-drop he missed early on. Goes with the Overzealous fan, wishing it was a treasure hoarder or treasure hunter, but at least a 2-drop nonetheless.
Yeah, definitely not the Treasure Hunter, which is your optimal turn 1, but can't complain too much. But ooh, we have the stacked Hopeful combo, which we've seen used to great effect before in our previous games.
Yeah, slowly becoming one of my favorite combos with the Draven Legend, or in this purple, in this Fury Chaos color combination at the very, in general. So Noxus does come in feeling pretty good going against a Zealous. Gets the Chosen Champion picked up, and the 2 ready runes, just like a good old classic Annie Legend would do in this situation. So not feeling too bad. J-Chan does score the very first points of game number 2 of these grand finals, and he's able to hold things down slightly. But I would imagine Darisu just looking at the treasure hoard battlefield as the most likely target to conquer this turn.
Yeah, you could choose the push up onto the fan, though it does mean that probably just trade the fan ability to push back the Hopeful. and that does open up like an accelerated. You probably aren't playing an accelerated Kaisa yet. I honestly imagine this turn is just going to be kind of building up your board still again. I wouldn't hate actually going on to the Horde here, as it's going to get you that gold token, and as we saw before, the early gold tokens kind of snowball into a crazy amount of bonus runes that the deck generally doesn't play with. I could see, again, like we didn't see a treasure hunter, so we know there's probably no treasure hunter, as treasure hunter is generally your best turn 1 play. Really in the tank. Okay, it does choose the push up on the peak, so this tells me that you probably want to... Oh, spinning axe. Okay.
Yeah, so foregoes the ability on the overzealous fan, saying, you know what, I don't want to sacrifice it. I'll rather try to defend it with the total 5 might, but that is not looking too promising considering the fact that there's 5 runes open for Darisu right now, and there's 4 might. All he needs is a single longsword to get 2 might over, going up to 6 total might on Targon's Peak, and you're completely tapped out as a Draven player. And on top of that, to make matters worse, if you lose your overzealous fan, that comes at a double cost. You're losing your fan and you're losing your spinning axe. So maybe J-Chan getting a little bit too maybe impatient with the spinning axe, just wanting to get let go of it right now, but it didn't seem like an opportune moment for it. Or what do you think, Ane?
I mean, I honestly thought that if he pushed up the hopeful, he would just pop the fan and push the hopeful back. But I guess choosing not to. When he does push up on the Targons, I would expect him to be playing attempting to develop a little bit, right? Because then you can play out all your mana and you can go ahead and then restand the 2 at the end of your turn. I will say that doing this does force him to spend the mana on the fight or flight, right? So you don't have that opportunity to build up a backline, as you do have to pay the 2 for fight or flight, and then you really only have enough open for a 2-drop. We didn't see a 2-drop played turn 1, right? It was the hopeful, and it would probably be a treasure hunter if it was in his hand, so we know no treasure hunter. It could be, but yeah, and then there's just another hopeful, which, I mean, feels pretty good here. A very efficient card, and you still do have 3 up.
Yeah, it almost feels like, at least for this game too, the Noxus hopeful being the big difference maker for these 2 Draven players, just being a little bit taller than the other Draven. Let's see now though, because now a bit of a saving grace for J-Chan's Draven was the simple fact that he was able to hold on to the spinning axe, so he can trade the spinning axe target now if it ends up getting defended, and then since you are on the current turn, you can reattach it onto the Draven. So it looks like this is a similar idea that he has in mind. Pushes in with the overzealous fan. As it currently stands, he has enough might to overtake Targon's Peak, perhaps baiting out a little bit of something from Darisu, but saying, you know what, I won't bite. I'll let you take the conquer, and I'll try to take it back on the pushback. But let's see if he wants to back things up, or would you rather send the Draven into the other battlefield? It seems a little risky, but J-Chan is taking the risk nonetheless.
Yeah, I mean, that was a pretty safe push, right? Because if he did have a axe or a longsword, or even just like a cleave or a blood rush, again, don't know which ones he plays, but you would have played it on the hopeful the previous turn, as it's a more mana efficient way of clearing the unit. So pretty free push. You can't really expect him to have too much, which is good, as you do get to take the unit and then get the double conquer. Does opt to not play out the gold token though, so potentially has 2 plays in hand of interactions. Maybe fight or flights. Again, Rebuke has been seen to great success from both players.
Yeah, you know, at the very minimum, he doesn't have a double Rebuke up his sleeve, because you only have 3 Chaos runes, but it could be a Rebuke backed up by a fight or flight at the very minimum, at the very least, if he needs it. Right now, there's only 1 unit in the back line for Darsu's Draven, so that's going to be the Noxus hopeful. At the moment, you don't have enough might to essentially overtake either of these battlefields, so he's trying to think, he's trying to say, how am I gonna at least conquer one of these battlefields to get on even tempo? But no, Jay going into an extraordinary lead, 5 points up to against the one. You know, Darisu looking like he had a really good opening in that game one, but not so much so in this game two. It almost feels like the person on the play has a decent amount of advantage in this matchup. Or what else would you say, or would you account this to?
I mean, it was just a really strong start. I will say that one trade into the, I think pushing the hopeful up into the fan was a bit, maybe a bit of a miscalculation, right? Because it's, I believe he did it because he wanted to develop, because you can go push up hopeful into Targons and then play Draven, and then you can restand too, and then you'll have enough runes for your fight or flight in hand. But because he did have the axe specifically, it means that he loses the hopeful, so he is forced to actually use his interaction in hand. And then because he played the interaction, then he no longer has the runes to play out the Draven and develop his board. So okay. I think the not going for the treasure hoard was a pretty big misstep. That being said, I mean, we don't know his hand. There might have been a reason he did that. Unfortunately, it didn't really work out that specific turn. Now we do have J-Tan, who does have a board and is significantly ahead in points. So I will say, at least before the Falling Star was played, he was a little bit behind in rune tempo, but not as much anymore. I would expect probably at least a single conquer here, if not a double. You generally don't want to go on odds, but I mean, when you're this far behind, you do need to get on the scoreboard, right?
I think so. At the very least, at least score with one of these battlefields. I would imagine the more likely target to be the Targon's Peak, allowing you to use more of your runes this turn. Maybe just build a board because you're behind on that. You're behind in that department, so goes for a treasure hunter to start things off. Maybe the third Nox is hopeful as he tops 2, but no, goes for the Tide Turner and didn't even decide to conquer one. That's Darisu saying, you know what? I value the simple fact of not giving you any more cards rather than scoring a point and being behind. I will try to turn things around a little bit later on, but right here, right now, I don't want you drawing any bit more cards. So I can respect that as well, because if you send in one, you're saying you're offering 1 point for one draw from J-Chan, which can be quite impactful in this mirror match. So I definitely see where Darsu's coming from. But we'll see if it ends up playing the way he had in mind, because it's 5-1. Make that 6-1. No matter which way you put it, that is a big point total lead for J-Chan. At this point, oh, I spoke too soon. Keep it at 5, but he does have a couple more units to push up with.
Yeah, that was a bit of a misstep. What I expected from this turn was you'd push up Forerunner onto Treasure Hoard, and then maybe play a unit or two in base and then pass and go for a big push for the next turn, as the only efficient out for the Forerunner is a Rebuke. Everything else is leaving you a lot for the follow-up push. And unfortunately, the Rebuke was there, which makes things a little bit difficult. He does need to go to even points here, as it does force Darisu to actually respect the double conquer next turn for game. And like I said, playing that treasure hunter out early does kind of stink, because now you would have been able to just replay the Forerunner, right? But now you're kind of stuck in this spot with 4 runes up. You did get to replay the Forerunners. The Forerunner's stuck in your hand, which is like a 2-turn play, unless you pair it with like Ride the Wind.
Yeah. We'll see. I mean, right now, Darisu trying to figure out this puzzle that J-Chan has presented in front of him. Not literally, since there's just one unit, but the puzzle of this game too, I should say. How does he kind of think a couple turns ahead, where he finds himself winning this game too, and pretty much closing out our grand finals? I mean, I don't know how likely that's gonna be in this very position. You just have a Draven, the hopeful, and the 2 might units, or one of them being a 1 might unit. You're pushing up your Draven and your hopeful, trying to conquer Let's see if he decides to trigger, rather both of these players decide to trigger their legend or their champion unit. I believe the defender decides for, actually no. And do you know, I'm already forgetting. I know I learned it the other day.
I forget, but it's either, yeah, I forget which one, what the order is.
Yeah, I think it's come back to me. I think the order is the attacker is first, but then the defender gets put on the chain last and is last and first out. So on resolution, the defending Draven has to decide, and then the attacking Draven gets to decide. So it gets put on the chain first, but because it is that last and first out, it ends up being the defending Draven has to be the one to make the decision. We'll see if J-Chan decides to do it, because right now, depending on what your hand is, you have to keep in mind, Darisu just has 3 cards in hand. How much spinning axe long swords can he really have? If you have 1 spinning axe plus the +2 you get from the champion, is that enough right now? Because it would be 6, 10, 2, so he has to get over 12 at the very minimum if Darisu decides to deploy his ability as well.
I would say you could probably make the read that Darisu would have had to have seen the axe off of the stack deck or drawn for turn, which is not the most likely thing.
And you know,
so
I was just gonna say the fact that he played Fight or Flight, that means that he didn't decide to do the Draven ability, right?
Yeah, it makes me think that neither of them did, and we got a rebuke onto the Draven. So he is saying you do not have the Darius, you do not have a Kaisi, you do not have a Ride the Wind, you do not have one of these cards that's going to out the Draven. I am surprised that he didn't use the Draven then, because if he did use the Draven, it makes it significantly harder for a repeat combat, right? Because he does gain the might until the end of the turn. So it means that even a restanded Darius, right, doesn't get over it because Draven goes up to 8.
Yeah. And I do like the fact that, like you're saying, if he went up to 6 here, even a spinning axe wouldn't get this tide turner over the 6 total might from the bottom Draven. Because in this position, if it is going to be... Wait, did he ride the wind? And we didn't see it? There it is.
Oh, there it is.
He mentally played it out.
See, and if we'd used the Draven here, then that would still be trading with them both,
yeah,
right?
Exactly. I think that was one little slight misstep coming out from J-Chan. If he did, because right now he'll be going up to 7 total runes. You don't really necessarily need, unless he's going to be making full use of 8 runes next turn. I think he could have sacrificed one of those Fury runes to get an even trade, allowing both your units to most likely conquer the following turn. You're at 6. You just need one final push on both of these battlefields to claim victory and bring us to a notorious game 3. But now it's looking a little tougher, but still likely, but definitely a little bit tougher.
Can opt to push or to play the Draven right onto the Horde if he chooses to, and it does make it a little bit awkward, right? Because you don't have game on board, as you have to be able to take both battlefields, obviously. I'm a bit surprised about going onto the peak here, but maybe he does want to play out the Draven. Oh, okay, nope, just Falling Star to the back row. Okay, that works too. That's pretty good.
Oh man, and is this the moment of truth for Darisu? Is this the moment where he tries to climb things back and turn that momentum towards himself or in favor of himself with the Tide Turner, Treasure Hunter, and Oversell his Fan? Are these 3 cards enough to try to go up to 5? Because right now there's just 2 total cards that Darisu's holding on to. But keep in mind, guys, there's only a 1 might unit, that being the Treasure Hunter in the back line. Unless you have a Kaiser Survivor or a Darius, that might be the only way. Oh, and speak of another way, the Piercing Light gonna be taking out 2 of Darisu's units right now. If it's repeated, do you take out everything? But I don't think there'll be a target for the other repeat. Actually, yeah, there would, right? The other battlefield one?
You could. I will say if you repeat it, you don't have enough to accelerate anything, and you
Right.
don't threaten to win. So
It's
I think it's pretty unlikely.
yeah, I agree. I think it's a little unnecessary.
Yeah, I think you just push up on the Targon here, and then if you do have a Darius in hand, then you just push Darius up. Yeah, and then say, do you have a Rebuke or a Fight or Flight? And it looks like he doesn't.
And that is it.
Very
As
nice.
we expected, we are down to the very last game of today's Invitational, the first ever Runes and Rift Invitational. As I said before, we started with 32 players. I think it was somewhere in the neighborhood of 8 total champions today. That many more runner-ups, and then the rest of the players were all top 8 to top 4 players, so a very high caliber event. And these are the final 2 players standing, 1 game apiece, one coming in from the winner's side, one having to fight his way through the lower bracket side. Who will come out on top and be the very first Invitational champion? We find out right here, right now, in this game number 3. NA, are you giving a slight edge to the Draven on the play, or did you like what you saw from Jay Chan?
I mean, Draven going first is nice because you get to get the treasure hunter down. I will say we are going to see an obelisk this game because, yeah, we did know that that was the third battlefield. So things get a little bit different, right? Because we'll have to see if Darisu decides to go first or second and just says, okay, I'm going to go second, play my Draven on turn 1, as we have seen this happen before. So I'm kind of curious what the play is here.
Yeah, so true, right? Because it is a little bit damn if you do, damn if you don't. If you go first, of course. Very good advantage. If you go second, you get to get your Draven champion online that much earlier, as early as that opening turn. So, did both of these players miss the Targon speaker? Did they not start yet? What's going on?
So he just put out 2
that's
extra
what it
runs.
is, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it did end up, Darisu did still opt to go first. And this is where it feels bad, where all you have is the treasure hunter and your opponent gets to play the Draven. So that is kind of the optimal line on the obelisk for J-Chan. Definitely what you want to see.
Yeah, and it is the big difference between both of these Dravens. One of them running a Treasure Hoard battlefield, the other one running Obelisk of Power. We'll see which Draven ends up coming up on top, but a big strategy that led Darsu's Draven to victory in game number 1 was this card, as some will say, the MVP Chaos card of Spiritforged, the Treasure Hunter, doing so phenomenal work in this entire tournament. Probably going to be doing phenomenal work in this game 3, but decides to hide a card nice and early. Seems a little bit ambitious, but I think he just wants to really neglect those combat draw wins for J-Chan, so I can respect that as well.
Yeah, it's essentially stopping 2 resources, right? Because you stop the gold and you stop the draw. So you're trading 1 rune for potentially 2 pieces of value. And even if it isn't really that much, it could just be something as simple as like a tide turner or whatever. It could end up being like a big net loss, right, for J-Chan if you do push it in. So it represents a lot and really makes you not want to go there. And I think you're totally fine with saying, hey, I'll trade a rune for this early tempo. And then it kind of turns off the benefit of getting to play that first turn Draven, because when you play the first turn Draven, that represents a turn 2 draw plus a gold generally, but by hiding a card, it says no.
Yeah, it's just that much more to think about, because on top of not getting the gold and the draw, you're allowing the opposing Draven to now get that draw at the very least. But he's going for it. He's saying, you know what, show me what's under the hitting zone. What do you have? Is it going to be a tide turner? Is it going to be a fight or flight? I think he would prefer it to be a tide turner, but no, we couldn't have guessed it. It's going to be the switcheroo for the first time in this whole tournament, I want to say, coming out. But the Gus reaction speed triggering first. What a fantastic reaction. And allowing him to still get the draw. I think Gus is a really good, decent card in the mirror match.
Yeah, this was a pretty good way to play this, right? Because if you do a preemptive gust, he can just go, okay, I'm gonna fight or flight my treasure hunter back, and at that point you're like, okay, I don't get the goal, or sorry, at that point, because it's like a fight or flight or something to push the Draven back, you don't get anything, and the Draven gets the draw. So this actually kind of trades with everything. So this is like best case scenario. I think the only hidden that this doesn't interact well with is Tide Turner, because you just go Tide Turner, pull up Draven, and that feels pretty bad. But hey, I mean, that was pretty good. That was actually very good.
Yeah, super well played from J-Chan, playing it beautifully so far, knowing exactly what he could be playing against, even if it was a fight or flight, as you said, but ended up working out with that switcheroo. There he is going into the opposite power, but this feels a little bit risky, I will say. Tapping out completely to go up to an even 2 points. Does that feel worth it, NA? Because actually the Targon's Peak does get you 2 cards back, but it looks like he might not be able to go to 2 just yet. The Ride the Wind coming in. The Draven going to be going up against the opposing Draven, electing them. Actually, I'm curious enough. I mean, you have to go there, but both are looking to trade, but one of them has 1 rune available. Is that rune gonna be a cleave? Because in this situation, because he rode the wind after the conquered battlefield was already said and done, the Draven that rode the wind is now with the attacker status, so a cleave will work here. But if it just trades 1 for 1, I feel J-Chan still comes out ahead, right?
I mean, I would expect them to both pay the extra cost. Okay, no, this works too. Yeah, so you just play the cleave, and this is like a pretty big trade. It's very expensive, right? Because you do lose the, you do have to pay the chaos rune for this, but you get a draw, you get a gold, and the gold's ready as well. So you just have 2 power available, and you get 2 points for it, right? Because you get the conquer and you get the hold. So Ride the Wind on your opponent's turn is just such a nasty play when it does work. Yeah. It just can be sometimes a bit hard to work in, but I mean, it was played to great effect there.
Yeah, perfectly executed, knowing the fact that it wasn't your turn yet, so he didn't end it, didn't ready runes, so deployed it at the perfect time where his opponent was completely tapped out, couldn't use any quick draw effects, couldn't use anything really, so waiting for the perfect opportunity and executed it beautifully. Well done for Darisu. It looks like he's looking okay. Does go up to 2 points, or isn't he at 3? Didn't he already conquer 1, or did he never conquer this game?
He should be at 3, right? Because he did conquer with the treasure hunter.
Yeah, he should be at 3 because there's 1 for the treasure hunter, the Ride the Wind conquer, and then the hold going up to 3. And speaking of hold, J-Chan will also be holding up to 3 points. It is the finals, guys. I'm allowing these guys. There's no such thing as missing points in the finals. Darisu will be at 3. I'll let these players know. But we're seeing a stacked deck. And I'm just going to let them know in the TCGA chat.
Yeah, this is just... Darisu has seen the Treasure Hunter card, and it feels like J-Chan has not. In all 3 games. So Darisu building up another gold army has double Treasure Hunter. Honestly, Treasure Hunter is kind of MVP for me of set 2. This card is so insane. It is the best ramp card in the game, in that if it survives for more than 1 turn, it effectively is ramping you like 2 to 3 runes. So incredible card. And it being a 2-drop means it fits right in with your curve, right? You get to play it over stuff like Merchant that people were playing before.
Right, it pretty much effectively but plays Merchant, at least in Draven builds, maybe not so much in Annie builds. And funny enough, we're not seeing too many Annie because Draven, they're the exact same color combination and just feels that much better lately. But Darius going in and conquering the Targon's Peak, going up to 4, doesn't feel too bad, leaves everything available. And by everything, I mean 5 runes available on his opponent's turn. So looking to defend with this Darius, and could defend pretty well, because right now, considering the fact that the Darisu Draven only has 4 cards, J-Chan's done a fantastic job of not giving him those free draws as some players tend to do against Draven. So 4 apiece, the Treasure Hunter ties things up. I'm wondering though, does he take the bluff, or does he take the risk rather go into Targon's Peak and just see who has more combat tricks, more equipments like these quick draws as we've seen before. But I think we get our answer. I don't think he's gonna be finding out. Just gonna go for the base development and passes it on over to J-Chan. Things are getting awfully close here.
Yeah, this is a good play. I like it. I mean, you're on even points already. Pushing up into 5 runes and potentially losing a lot feels pretty bad. So just develop your base. I mean, as we've seen before, developing the base makes late game a lot easier, as a lot of the Draven battle tricks are kind of 1-for-1 battle tricks with stuff like Rebuke, with stuff like Fight or Flight. So having a lot of units can kind of help you push through that, right? Because they can only push back 1 unit at a time. But he has 4 or 5 units, 5 to 2, which is quite a discrepancy. I would like to see J-Chan go to 6 here and probably pull back if possible. I mean, it's probably not possible to save the hopeful, but I would like to see go up to 6, pull back the Darius, and then maybe play something in the base. Oh, wow. Okay.
Not too bad, right? Because it does get ready. You conquer up to 6 total points, and in this position, I would imagine he's going to be pulling back the Darius, which he does so now, but goes with the Vex and just lets it be. I like this play. J-Chan thinking about the next turn. He's saying, you have so many units. I'm not going to let you take any more draws from me. You're down to 3 cards. How much worse can it get? You're down to 3. You have that many units, so I'm just going to put you in a position to force you to have combat tricks on my push in. So Kaiser goes into Targon's Peak, does get that free conqueror, most likely going to be pushing the treasure hunter onto Obelisk of Power to get another conqueror. But you have to be mindful of the simple fact, J-Chan's at 6. You have to defend with at least one of these battlefields, or he's going to be coming in with his board and try to conquer up to that victory score. I mean, he doesn't have too much of a base, but he does have a decent amount there.
Yeah, what does make this a little bit annoying is because there's so many gold tokens, you can pretty freely pay the power, so the hiddens are free, essentially. And because the board is already built, you really don't have to play much from your hand. You can kind of just establish on whichever battlefield you do feel like you have the better chance of holding, and then say you're not stopping me. And the Vex, I'm not gonna say it doesn't get countered by this, but I mean, when you don't have to actually use any energy to build a board, you can just say, okay, well, your Vex makes all my stuff cost more, but I didn't use anything during my turn, so it effectively does nothing. It does look like opting to just leave open Obelisk, which that's probably fine, right? Like, just yeah.
Oh, things are looking a little tough though for J-Chan. That overzealous fan coming in, and Darisu heard us loud and clear. He said, you know what, you're at 6. My only out in this game is to try to hold one of these battlefields, because even with the Rebuke of Fight or Flight, so keeping things simple with the least mighted unit, being that hopeful, getting that 7th point, keeping the Darius, keeping the Vex for this push. You do have to think about an overzealous fan. Something like a Gus can pick it away, but you only have 6 total cards. What are these final 6 cards? Are they the perfect cards he needs to close things out? Or is Darisu going to be able to hold first tapping 5 runes? Is that going to be something like a Kaiser Survivor? It's going to be a Vex, and he's going for the classic runaround. He's saying, you know what? You overextended on Targon's Peak. I'm going to punish you for it. I'm not going to conquer both battlefields. I'm going to make you try to take the battlefield away from me. What a brilliant play for J-Chan.
Yeah, this is pretty scary here for Darisu. I mean, you have 11. You could have Ride the Winds. We've seen Ride the Winds. You could see Thunder Song plus Ride the Winds. You could see Accelerated Kaisas. You could see Darius. There are a lot of cards here that do work. That being said, I mean, the Double Vex, yeah, the double Vex doesn't really do anything, because anything you want to do, you can do before the combat, right? You can just say, like, I'm going to axe my guy, whatever.
Oh, is that Darius saying he doesn't have it? We're seeing a couple X's on the board saying, no, how dare you do that line. I think Darisu might just be seeing the picture being painted from Jay Chan. I think he might be the winner of today's Invitational. I won't speak just yet. Well, with 4 cards to his name, you're going to have to need a whole lot more than a ride the win. And oh, I don't even know what gets you out there, because we're talking about a Vex. On top of that double spinning axe,
Oh my
NA,
God.
that should be a GG right there. There's just nothing stopping Jay Chan from taking this one home.
Yeah, and now the Darius gets the buff as well, so you can rebuke like one thing and that's still infinite might. Okay, there's the rebuke.
Rebuke number 1, we'll call it.
He rebuked his own unit. Okay.
Oh, and that is it, guys. Jay Chan not only taking it down in their winners final, but also being crowned our first ever Runes and Rift Invitational crown or champion. Well done to Jay Chan, closing things out in game number 3. He had everyone a little bit worried. All the Jay Chan fans in chat, he's like, oh man, that game 1 looking rough, but coming back in a 2-0 swing of things. And you know, for a Draven mirror match, that was really, I mean, it had me on my toes. I was really, really excited for that one.